There is a curious contradiction buried deep in human history. Long before cities existed, before writing, before agriculture, before civilization itself, humans were already searching for ways to change the way they felt. Most people imagine ancient humans spending every waking moment focused on survival, hunting, avoiding predators, finding shelter, and raising children. It seems unlikely that people living on the edge of starvation would devote precious time to substances that altered their minds. But archaeology tells a different story. Scattered across caves, burial sites, ancient pipes, dental plaque, and forgotten ritual spaces is a growing collection of evidence suggesting that our ancestors didn't simply discover psychoactive plants after civilization emerged. They may have been experimenting with them for tens of thousands of years. The deeper question isn't whether ancient humans used drugs, it's why. Because if altering consciousness is as old as humanity itself, it forces us to rethink one of the oldest assumptions about what it means to be human. Researchers have discovered traces of intoxicating plants in places no one expected. Ancient residues cling to ceremonial vessels. Burn marks inside prehistoric pipes reveal the remains of psychoactive compounds. Tiny fragments trapped in fossilized dental plaque preserve microscopic evidence of plants that people chewed thousands of years ago. The explanation should have ended there. It didn't. Some discoveries suggest these substances weren't simply recreational. They appeared during burials, religious ceremonies, healing rituals, and major social gatherings. Across continents separated by thousands of miles, and cultures that never met, people repeatedly sought plants capable of changing perception. That pattern is difficult to ignore. Here's where the mystery deepens. The human brain did not evolve alongside modern drugs. There were no laboratories producing purified chemicals. Instead, nature itself became an enormous pharmacy. Hundreds of plants manufacture compounds that affect the nervous system. Nicotine discourages insects from eating tobacco leaves. Caffeine protects coffee and tea plants from herbivores. Morphine helps defend the opium poppy. Psilocybin mushrooms produce chemicals whose evolutionary purpose scientists still debate. Many of these compounds happen to fit remarkably well into receptors inside the human brain. That isn't because plants evolved for humans. It's because evolution repeatedly reused similar biochemical pathways across living organisms. When ancient people accidentally tasted, chewed, inhaled, or brewed these plants, they were interacting with molecules that could temporarily reshape perception, memory, pain, fear, and emotion. Most people assume such discoveries happened by chance. But what researchers found was far more interesting. Many hunter-gatherer societies possess astonishing knowledge of local plants. Indigenous communities around the world can distinguish hundreds of species, identifying which heal wounds, reduce fever, stop bleeding, induce sleep, or produce visions. This knowledge often requires generations of careful observation. Anthropologists studying traditional societies have found that medicinal and psychoactive plants are rarely treated as ordinary food. Instead, they are surrounded by stories, rituals, taboos, and strict rules governing who may use them and when. Those traditions may preserve knowledge accumulated over thousands of years. And then something unexpected happened. Archaeologists examining ancient dental calculus, the hardened plaque preserved on fossil teeth, began finding microscopic plant remains that survived for millennia. These tiny particles revealed that prehistoric people consumed an astonishing diversity of plants, including species with medicinal and psychoactive properties. Each discovery expanded the timeline. Evidence from the Andes suggests coca leaves were chewed thousands of years ago. Ancient North American sites preserve smoking pipes containing residues from tobacco and other plants. In parts of Eurasia, researchers have identified burnt cannabis residues associated with ceremonial contexts dating back more than 2,000 years. The science becomes harder to explain when these discoveries appear repeatedly in ritual settings. Why would societies separated by oceans independently connect altered consciousness with ceremonies surrounding death, healing, initiation, or communication with the spiritual world? One possibility lies inside the brain itself. Modern neuroscience shows that many psychoactive substances influence networks involved in emotion, sensory perception, memory, and the brain's default mode network, a system linked to self-reflection and our sense of identity. Depending on the substance and dose, people may experience reduced pain, heightened awareness, distorted time perception, profound emotional insight, or vivid visual experiences. To ancient observers with no understanding of neurons or neurotransmitters, these effects could easily seem supernatural. The explanation should have ended there. Instead, another mystery emerged. Not every ancient drug was intended to produce visions. Some substances almost certainly had practical value. Willow bark contains salicin, a natural compound related to the active ingredient that eventually inspired aspirin. Opium poppies produce powerful pain-relieving alkaloids. Tobacco can reduce hunger and increase alertness. Fermented beverages may have provided safer hydration than contaminated water in some settled communities, while also strengthening social bonds during communal rituals. In many cases, the line between medicine and ritual may never have existed. Healing the body and changing the mind were often considered the same process. Anthropologists argue that altered states of consciousness may even have helped strengthen group cohesion. Shared rituals involving rhythmic dancing, drumming, chanting, fasting, or carefully controlled psychoactive plants could reinforce trust, reduce conflict, and create powerful collective memories. If true, these experiences may have offered evolutionary advantages that extended beyond the individual. Communities that bonded more effectively often survived more effectively. But that's not the strangest part. Humans appear uniquely driven to seek altered states even without drugs. Extreme fasting, sleep deprivation, meditation, breath control, rhythmic music, endurance running, dancing for hours. Nearly every culture has independently developed techniques capable of changing consciousness. This suggests that the desire to step outside ordinary awareness may be deeply rooted in the human brain itself. Drugs were only one pathway among many. The deeper question is why evolution would produce a species so fascinated by changing its own perception. Some researchers believe temporary shifts in consciousness encouraged creativity, strengthened religious belief, improved storytelling, reinforced social identity, or helped individuals process grief and trauma. Others argue that many psychoactive discoveries were simply evolutionary accidents that humans learned to exploit. The truth may include both. Our ancestors were extraordinary observers. They experimented constantly with fire, stone, food, pigments, medicines, and plants. Most experiments probably failed. Some were deadly, but a few revealed entirely new ways of experiencing reality. Those discoveries became traditions, traditions became rituals, and rituals became culture. Today, modern neuroscience can explain many of the molecular mechanisms behind these substances. We know about dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, cannabinoid receptors, opioid receptors, and countless other signaling systems. Yet the biggest mystery remains unsolved. Why has nearly every human civilization, regardless of geography or language, discovered methods to alter consciousness? Perhaps the answer has less to do with drugs than with curiosity itself. Humans are one of the few species that don't simply adapt to the world. We continually search for new ways to experience it. Long before we built monuments, invented writing, or looked toward the stars, we were already exploring the most complex landscape we would ever encounter. The human mind, and perhaps that journey into consciousness began long before history remembered it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, subscribe for more. See you in the next one.